You're listening to Voice of Israel.
You're listening to One Nation with Dov Lipman. One of the things that I enjoyed the most as a member of Knesset was the engagement that I had with people, citizens all over Israel and throughout the world as I traveled to different countries. And I felt it was important to continue that process and was thrilled to see that questions were submitted before the show from people around Israel and actually the world. And we're going to take some time now and go through some of those questions, try to answer them as best as we can. And again, I encourage all of you to send in your questions to dov@voiceofisrael.com. You can also call in with your questions in Israel, 077-899-4111, or in the United States, 929-500-2555. First question we have today is from Dan in Jerusalem, and he asked a question which touches a real chord with me, as you'll see in a moment. Dan asked, is it true that you have to give up your United States citizenship to serve in the Knesset? And will you get it back now that you are no longer in the Knesset? So we'll deal with the two halves of that question. About 2 weeks before the inauguration, I opened my mail at home, and there was a letter from the Knesset, and I actually remember where I was standing because it was pretty traumatic for me. And it was a letter from the Knesset saying that in order to be sworn in to the Knesset by Israeli law, I had to renounce my United States citizenship. And I didn't hesitate in terms of the decision to do so, but just the thought of renouncing my citizenship was scary for me, and not for the reasons that people think, not because of economic reasons and not because of going in the faster line when I get to JFK Airport. It's because of what the United States meant to me. Growing up, I come from a very patriotic American family. My father of blessed memory was a judge in the federal government. My father-in-law was in the U.S. Army for decades. And my home in Silver Spring, Maryland, where I grew up, has an American flag flying all year round. And just the thought of having to renounce my citizenship, I felt like an ingrate to a country that gave me and my family so much. So I went to the embassy at a time when it was not open to the public. I just didn't want any attention around this. Actually, there was another MK who had to do so as well, Naftali Bennett from the Bayit Yehudi party. Naftali didn't grow up in America, and it wasn't as big a deal for him. So first I signed a document, and that was sort of easy to do because I separated myself from what I was doing, and I thought I was done. And then they called me to this back room, and this clerk says to me, "Please raise your right hand." And I said to her, "I have to say this?" And she said, "Repeat after me." And actually tears welled up in my eyes as I officially renounced my citizenship in the United States. It was very difficult to do. I have to say, after it was done, there was something meaningful about coming full circle as a people exiled 2,000 years ago. And now I'm a full-fledged Israeli citizen. But it still was very difficult to do. In terms of the question about what will I do now that I'm not a member of Knesset, can I get it back? The answer is I can go through a process to try to request citizenship back in return. I'm not going to be doing so for two reasons. One is there's something that I feel is wrong about getting a lawyer and going to court and trying to fight to get my U.S. citizenship back. I'm proud to be an Israeli. I'm not looking to shed that identity, and therefore I don't feel comfortable going through a process to lobby and to fight to try to get my citizenship back. And the other reason is Israeli politics are such that who knows when we'll have elections again, and I do hope to make a run for the Knesset again. So to get my citizenship back and then have to renounce it again is not something that I want to go through. I will say that I traveled to the United States last week without my U.S. passport and without my diplomatic passport, and I stood in a very, very long, slow-moving line with all of the Israelis, and it felt